Tonight, for embattled Dolton Mayor Tiffany Henyard. The law firm representing Henyard and the village of Dolton in a slew of lawsuits is asking to withdraw from those cases.
A Cook County court has reversed some of Dolton Mayor Tiffany Henyard's decisions. Ruled Henyard's appointment of Michael Smith as executive assistant was not valid. The special counsel appointment was also invalid.
The explosive video, which went viral quickly, appears to show a troubling pattern of manipulation that Henyard orchestrated to keep her hold on power. It was released by a local lawyer acting on behalf of a group of whistleblowers and purports to show Mayor Tiffany Henyard using blackmail tactics against board members. This shocking revelation has rocked Dune and beyond. Henyard allegedly threatens to divulge personal information about the board members in a private meeting captured on tape unless they support her agenda. The lawyer, whose identity is withheld for security reasons, claims that the footage shows shocking content and that it is a clear example of power abuse by using blackmail to influence public officials. Mayor Henyard has violated every ethical and legal limitations. The attorney also attested that the video has been turned over to state and federal investigators. The release of the footage has caused a tremendous deal of outrage among Dolton residents, many of whom have already expressed their displeasure with Henyard's leadership within hours of the video's release. This is against the law, and Dolton residents' trust in her demanded Henry's immediate resignation. Tiffany Henyard, a local activist, is reportedly in a panic after a judge gave her a chilling warning during her court appearance on Thursday. The judge connected her to unapproved appointments for a number of positions in the village, including police chief, which was given to Ron Bohr, a former Dixon mayor and Henyard's opponent in the 2021 mayoral race. Henyard was warned that permitting any of her appointees to appear at Village Hall could result in contempt charges, but the court decided not to hold her in contempt for the time being. Last month's election was widely considered one of the most contentious years in U.S. history. The judge issued a temporary restraining order that prohibited Henyard from making appointments without first obtaining permission from the trustee. The person who has moored Tiffany Henyard's reign is claims of squandering public funds, but there is mounting evidence that suggests these claims might be more than just hearsay. You won't want to miss this fascinating tale about how the village board recruited former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot to look into Mo Henyard's financial management. So get ready as we dive into the drama that is unfolding. The village's debt was out of control, and her investigation turned up alarming signs of poor money management. Additionally, Lightfoot's research revealed that by May 2024, the village's finances had drastically declined from April 2022. She also learned that Henyard allegedly used the village's credit card for personal purchases on websites like Amazon, Target, Walgreens, Wayfair, and others, raising concerns about financial oversight. The general fund of Dolton was $365 million short of its prior level. The FBI visited and presented a comprehensive dossier of her alleged corrupt dealings, including the personnel and disciplinary records of 29 Dolton employees. Tiffany, who is currently at the center of a developing scandal, reportedly upgraded her lavish property in a newly created neighborhood using some of her illegally obtained money, reportedly to the tune of $5.6 million. Staff members and information about any contracts or financial dealings pertaining to chief aide. She is charged with utilizing $56,000 in government funds, including her portion, to reserve a space for her mother's driveway. Meanwhile, the so-called super mayor seems to have vanished. Henyard, who made history in 2021 by becoming the youngest, was observed by Keith Freeman, who has a similar duty in Thorne Township. As the first female mayor of Dolton, her career took a major turn in 2022 when she took over as Thornton Township's supervisor in lieu of the late Frank Zuccarelli. Henyard permitted Freeman to maintain both positions till now, but Gilly Gann is looking into his knowledge of. Although her candidacy initially inspired hope and excitement, town officials soon demanded answers regarding Freeman's activities during the workday. Her leadership swiftly took over. An unexpected turn when allegations of poor management and corruption emerged obscuring what could have been a successful political career and leaving her legacy embroiled in scandal, though not for the reason she had anticipated. Even though Tiffany is well known, rumors of her extravagant spending, which included paying for her hairstylist, a private jet, and a personal security guard, have revealed her embezzlement of public funds. Despite spending $500 on sports riding gear and $33 at a local Walgreens, her lavish 5-day vacation to Austin in July 2023 with her chief aide Keith Freeman and 3 town officials was a shocking example of her unreported spending. Over $20,000 was spent by Tiffany's group, including $1,290 at the opulent Fairmont Austin Hotel and $389 at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse, were all funded by taxpayer dollars. Since then, the organizers have simply mentioned that the trip was tied to attending a reputable conference without offering an explanation for its true purpose. Despite the village's multi-million-dollar debt, which is being driven by a sense of urgency, Jason House has demonstrated a habit of extravagant vacations spent with village employees. His plan to run for mayor of Dew in 2025 has been formally confirmed by House, citing the Although the FBI has not admitted any investigation against the incumbent mayor, his leadership has been a key contributing factor to the town's woes because of unresolved licensing issues, which have pushed many businesses, including Lawrence Gardner's trucking company, to close. After receiving a favorable ruling in his lawsuit against the town for allegedly selling alcohol illegally at an event, Gardner's business has been closed since January 2023. Says he has been in contact with federal authorities for several months and that many local residents and business owners are angry with the actions of Mayor Tiffany Henyard. He alleges that his company was asked to give $3,500 to the village after Henyard took.
Allegations you just read in those complaints with the Illinois Department of Human Rights.
I'm appalled. I'm literally sitting here shaking because I cannot believe that something like this has taken place.
In the meantime, Bird Old, a member of the Dolton Board of Trustees Legislative Council, expressed his surprise at the loss of 6 police cars, calling it a serious mistake. He pointed out that Tiffany Henyard had made regular payments for her personal security detail of priority to the res president, but that the loss of patrol cars is equivalent to the loss of officers. Dolton trustee Kiana Belcher expressed serious concerns about what she described as serious financial mismanagement, emphasizing the need for transparency to move forward and better understand where the funds are being allocated. At a rally in Taunton and Thorne Township, the community recently demanded that Tiffany Henyard's financial activities within the township be thoroughly investigated and that she resign. The demonstration, called Take Our Township Back, brought to light the community's growing dissatisfaction with what they perceive to be a lack of accountability, transparency, and clarity regarding the use of their tax dollars. Residents also noted that Henyard was the only signatory to financial decisions, having excluded all other township authorities from approving expenses. Many people view Henyard's actions as a strategic move because her increasingly erratic actions, the idea of accountability, seems completely foreign to Henyard, and the accusations against her vary rather than addressing the claims that Tiffany's defiance and lack of accountability have damaged her reputation with each new scandal, including the misuse of taxpayer dollars in resources and extravagant spending on. In March 2024, the Dolton Board opened an investigation after she was charged with embezzling $67,000 in taxpayer funds to pay for her personal travel expenses, which included out-of-town trips and hundreds of thousands of dollars in police overtime for her personal security detail. The village community and I are under siege. Tiffany said at a recent board meeting that the board regularly singled her out and criticized the Boys Club for sabotaging her efforts. She rejected the meeting, saying it was a biased attack on her character. At another meeting, she acknowledged that Village Hall had a $2. However, board members disclosed that the financial deficit was significantly larger than Tiffany had stated. Former Edward Steve pointed out that even though the mayor may assign blame for the current situation to others, she must ultimately take responsibility for her own actions in this ongoing crisis. One well-known instance of Tiffany's purported abuse of her position to silence dissent is Valeria Stubbs, a former village trustee who came under fire for openly criticizing Tiffany Stubbs and accusing Tiffany's ally Henyard of deliberately creating. Tensions escalated after a former Henyard's assistant exposed her self-serving behavior and how she had been mistreated by a trustee on the Henyard's board. When she told Tiffany about the incident, she was told it could not be made public because it would damage Tiffany's reputation. Despite filing a formal complaint and receiving support from the mayor, the former assistant was placed on unpaid medical leave and ultimately fired. Similar circumstances occurred when Dwayne Dash after he claimed he was fired while on vacation for not joining a scheme devised by Tiffany's assistant to replace them with a law firm that the assistant preferred. Tiffany's former maintenance manager sued the mayor. The meeting was abruptly called off and district presidents gathered in the park. Despite the absence of the 5 current trustees, the public was addressed by Tiffany Henyard and the mayor of Dolton. Henyard's attempt to summon a special meeting quickly turned into a one-sided monologue in which she said, "I'm here to provide some updates, but no queries or comments will be accepted. I'm going to tell you now, so feel free to walk away if you don't want to listen." Known for her easygoing demeanor, Henyard seems to be shifting gears by using board meetings as a forum for her own unique aggressive style. One particularly memorable event was when she arrived at a conference dressed as the well-known New Jack City character Nino Brown. Her bold choice, which mirrored her playful nature, sparked a lot of conversation, and her unconventional approach led to her being questioned by the public. Commitment to the position of mayor in a statement sent to Daegu trustee Carmen, who publicly criticized Belch for engaging in predatory and unethical practices during a recent hearing. Trustee Kiana Beller expressed her concerns about the current state of politics, comparing it to a farce in light of recent events. She noted that her attire at board meetings, which is echo Nino Brown's persona, only serves to further the mockery surrounding political IC discussions, but she made it clear that this was not the main issue at hand. At a recent board meeting, Carmen boldly expanded her influence by accusing Henyard of fabricating a false image of success that was being funded by Thor Township and Dolton taxpayers. She also freely acknowledged that, until that point, she had rarely questioned the extravagant trips and other expenses charged to the township. During her time as mayor of Dolton and supervisor of Thorn Township, Carmen claimed that Henyard had abused her position to manipulate residents, employees, and vendors over the previous 2 years. Carmen and the other trustees decided to restrict credit card use and enforce stricter spending restrictions for special occasions, but Tiffany's ongoing issues were only partially addressed by these measures. Concerning conditions at a Tiffany property receiving Section 8 housing subsidies were first reported by CBS 2 Chicago in August 2019. By November 2019, the property had deteriorated to the point where it was deemed uninhabitable, forcing the tenant to live there despite the unsettling conditions. The house had multiple serious issues, including mold infestations and water leaks. When the tenant confronted Tiffany about the unresolved mold issue, Tiffany allegedly continued to cash checks in Section 8 as though nothing had changed due to persistent leaks that were left unfixed. Jacqueline Smith's rental in Dolton experienced severe mold problems in October 2021. This occurrence garnered public attention, which prompted a more detailed inquiry into the questionable inspections of her house after the worldwide difficulties. After deciding to run for mayor, Tiffany launched a furious campaign that included disparaging Raleigh Rogers and his administration. Many were taken aback by Tiffany's boldness during the very competitive four-way primary, and by April, she had won the Democratic nomination and lost. Many in the community praised Ronnie Burge as a trailblazer for a time as she became the first Black American woman to hold the post of mayor with an incredible 82% of the vote in the main election. Tiffany cited this tale to back up her assertions. However, as time passed and people began to see past the carefully manicured image she had created, tensions escalated when Henyard yelled at the trustees during a heated meeting in February, reflecting the growing unrest over the previous year. It was disheartening to witness a group of Black people uniting to attack and discredit a powerful Black woman. Initially, Tiffany had the support of two trustees, Kiana Beller and Jason House, as well as village clerk Allison Key, who supported her early on. However, their once solid alliance quickly deteriorated, creating a rift that paved the way for a coalition within the board that moved to take legal action against Tiffany. The only time her chosen team appeared united during this chaotic time was for a brief 6-month period, during which her trustees accused her of mishandling municipal money. In response, Tiffany took a defensive, victimized stance, insisting that the accusations against her were part of a conspiracy planned by the trustees. This sparked a flurry of rumors, which made the public question their loyalty. By April 2022, the village board had escalated the situation by suing Tiffany, accusing her of corruption in her management of tax revenues. Her actions only served to support this story. She locked the trustees.
A show and not really show facts as it relates to what's really going on in our township.
And here we go, another contentious night for Tiffany Henyard at the annual Thornton Township meeting. Henyard is township supervisor, but tonight she was challenged by board members and the public. She was booed loudly at several points during tonight's meeting. Henyard said it's not fair for residents to ask so many questions in the township when she says they don't ask them in other.
Speaking at a public gathering, a local resident referred to the current administration as dishonorable and stated that the community is impatiently awaiting its overthrow. Tiffany's actions have left the community disillusioned despite overwhelming evidence, the resident said in an interview with Fox 32. Although she initially garnered support, her quick decline into disappointment within a few months shattered those hopes, and ABS residents continue to demand accountability, with many calling for police to take swift and firm action. Following a lengthy selection process, the trustees' 60-day window to name a new supervisor following Frank's passing seemed excessively short, which ultimately caused chaos in the community, particularly with Tiffany emerging as the 9th candidate. Many were shocked by the extent of Tiffany's alleged embezzlement, which benefited her personally while ignoring her constituents. Thornton Township's new supervisor, Tiffany Henyard, was under investigation today after appearing in court over her contentious nominations to a number of village jobs, including head of police when Henyard was chosen as supervisor. Few expected her to advance to the position because the trustees, not the votes, made decisions. Henyard attempted to maintain her resolve until the second meeting, when her true disposition became apparent, and she fired 2 employees, one from the Human Resources Department and the other Frank Zucchi's former executive assistant, rather than citing specific issues. Last month, a judge issued a temporary restraining order prohibiting her from making such appointments without the township trustees' approval. To be the consequence of a misunderstanding, meanwhile, the trustees expressed their disapproval of the previous administration's extravagant spending, specifically on a retreat at Eaglewood Resort. Tiffany responded, "I fully support the idea of a retreat, but I will not stand by while taxpayer funds are squandered on personal indulgences like spa services. In my opinion, this is a major red flag that will not happen. If she had kept her word, this situation might have gained some respect, but instead she not only denied using tax dollars for spas, but she went ahead and lavishly." The public is growing more determined to hold Tiffany accountable for her actions after she renovated both her mother's home and her expansive mansion. She may return with strong defenses. Perhaps it's time for her to face the consequences of her decisions. As it stands, Tiffany continues to avoid responsibility, which is causing problems for both herself and others. However, this evasion cannot continue indefinitely, as the world is now aware of Tiffany's behavior and the long-term effects of her tenure. To be honest, I wouldn't trust a word she says, no matter how powerful she is or how. The community's calls for accountability have only grown louder, with many residents feeling deeply betrayed and exploited. During a public comment session, some even called for her immediate arrest. There is a lot of documented evidence that she produces, and it is heartbreaking to watch her enter our community and waste taxpayer money while some of our elderly citizens struggle to provide for their basic needs despite her absence. Much to the dissatisfaction of the locals, Tiffany has consistently denied the claims in spite of the abundant proof, which has led to contentious discussions. In an interview with Fox 32, Tiffany stated that the community is eagerly awaiting the current administration's downfall as a disgrace. It's shocking how much taxpayer money Tiffany appears to have embezzled for her personal benefit, seemingly without consideration for the people she was supposed to serve. Originally, Tiffany wasn't supposed to be the supervisor of Dolton Township, but after a drawn-out process, the trustees hurried 60-day window to choose a new supervisor after Frank's death caused chaos and ultimately resulted in her contentious appointment as the ninth candidate. She appeared in court today amid allegations that CHUN unlawfully nominated people to a number of village positions, including chief of police. Last month, a judge issued a temporary restraining order prohibiting her from making such appointments without the trustees' consent. When Henyard was appointed, few anticipated that she would assume the role of supervisor because the trustees, not the voters, had the authority to make the majority of the important decisions. Instead of being motivated by specific challenges, Henyard tried to retain her steadfast resolve until the second meeting when her true character was shown. During this session, she dismissed two people, one from the Human Resources Division and the other, Frank Zucchi's former executive assistant. The termination appeared to be the consequence of inadequate communication, although the trustees voiced concerns about the previous administration's high spending, particularly in relation to a retreat at Eaglewood Resort and Spa. I'm all for the retreat concept, but I won't put up with taxpayer money being used on private indulgences like spa treatments that spa patrons have been utilizing for their staff. This is unacceptable. It is a serious red flag, and I will not permit it to occur while I am watching. Tiffany responded to the criticism by saying, "That's all for today. Stay tuned, and we'll see you in the next video." If she had kept her word, she might have gained some respect. She renovated her mother's home and her expansive mansion lavishly while rejecting the use of tax dollars for spas. The hypocrisy is clear, and people are prepared for Tiffany to pay for her actions.